Welcome to the classic of this week of the Female Starcraft League. We have old friends and rivals facing each other today in Season 3. Spawning to the bottom right hand corner in orange, playing for Myrisk in Germany, it's Miezekotze. And to the top left in purple, playing Protoss for Rival G and the US, it's Koshkii. These two players have faced each other many times. In the FSL, outside the FSL, they know each other's playstyles. They've seen it again and again. Most times, Koshkii came out on top eventually. Last time it was really close in Season 2. They actually faced on the very first day of Season 2, and it was a very close 3-2 series for Koshkii. If I recall correctly, she even won the last map with a cheeky 4-gate build. So that was fairly interesting. This time around we have Hatch Gas Pool, usual standard opening for Miezekotze. Miezekotze knows her opponent. She knows that Koshkii is infamous for her crisp timings. Question is, will she do it again? Or will Koshkii go into the Golden Armada build once more, as she's done so many times? So will it be an immortal-based push of some sort? Or will we see carriers and voirays? We can only guess for now. 2 Zerglings in the making. The typical 2 to 4 scouting Zerglings that Miezekotze usually produces. On a map like this with 2 Watchtowers, I would have actually expected her to build 4 links instead of only 2, sending 1 link to this watchtower, 1 link to this one, and the other 2 towards the front, so that she will be able to just run on with either 2 or 1 of the links in order to get some scouting information and have 1 more link left in order to scout a little bit later, or to see when the army of Koshkii is moving out. Koshkii in the meantime has managed to seal off her natural entrance and has an adept inside the gap, so not much that Miezekotze will be able to do. And then we have them, the 4 links, not moving out yet, but she already has an overlord in position and sends it towards the right hand side, while the other one will be checking for a 3rd base and will be taken down, while she has already planted down her own 3rd, which will hatch in only a few seconds time. Robotics facility going down for Koshkii, though very, very tucked back. But of course, Miezekotze knows about this, will probably move in a little bit later. And we also see the Dark Shrine, but very early on this time. So it seems as if this time around maybe we will not even see an Immortal-based timing, but rather a DT-based one. So let's see how this is actually going to work out, and if Miezekotze is going to suspect this anyways. I mean, the Dark Shrine is at a fairly nice position here. Usually you would expect... don't really know if she saw this, so let's have a look if she actually got the information here with the Ling. She just took a glimpse at the small little building here, but might have mistaken it for a pylon. But she's getting some spore crawlers. Okay, never mind. It seems as if she either knows what's up, or she just goes for safety spores, or like I said, she actually had the short amount of time in order to click on that building here, seeing that it was a Dark Shrine. But of course she will have at least some detection, is also going into lair already, so she will be able to morph some overseers as well, so she should be fairly safe. Of course, seeing DTs is only half the thing. So now we have the Dark Shrine already done. A few links running across the map. So, but where's the Warp Prism? Is the Warp Prism already out? There is a Warp Prism and it's flying across the map. So never mind, but of course this link at the Watchtower saw it incoming. So more and more links in production. Miezekotze knows what's up. Yeah, Koshkii just tries to evade all of the overlords, but will probably just fly in anyways. 2 Dark Templars for now are being morphed. One Ling seeing the Nexus over to the right-hand side. Oh, Archons actually. Okay, going right for the Archon drops after realizing that she was scouted anyways. She doesn't even try to run into the base, or is even probably respecting her opponent too much, knowing that she will probably not be able to deal that much damage with Dark Templars anyways, so she rather wants to have the Archon drops anyways. Okay, the Queens are in position. Or not. Okay, moving back, trying to take out that Warp Prism away here. Probably just wanted to give her a little bit of time, now trying to take away that Warp Prism here, but of course the long range load in will allow her to get away and save the Archons for now, but has to retreat. Too many Lings and Queens in place. What will this Warp Prism do next? Flying across creep, of course, will Miezekotze... I will tell Miezekotze what she's actually up to. In the meantime, this one Overlord that wanted to fly in a little closer will get taken out. So the Archons will get unloaded over here and will now move into the third base. The Lings are mostly across the map. Some of these Lings will retreat, while the rest of the Lings will try to take out the third base of the Protoss. Okay, Archon actually manages to kill off the Queen, which is nice to have. And in the meantime, a lot of Lings trying to nibble away at that Nexus. No movement by Koshkii. Now finally she moves out, but she does not really have that many forces. Unfortunately, Miezekotze not really paying attention, letting most of her Lings trying to attack these forces there, so the base will not get taken out. Would have probably not get taken out anyways. But now moving in with the rest of the Lings, and does know that there are DTs over there, and even has the Overseer close by enough in order to take it out. Will even get the Immortal. No! Will not get the Immortal there. Ooh, very close, but of course the Immortal could have also been loaded in by Koshkii there. So unfortunately not really getting much out of this trade. Losing mostly Lings there for nothing. Might have actually been able to focus down that Nexus here just barely, but didn't want to try this as well. I think after all it was a good decision, rather taking a fourth base of her own so that she will stay ahead in the economic game. In the meantime, getting some upgrades for Hydralisks and some Hydralisks as well. So it seems as if she wants to do the same strat that Ryza was using on Horsemaster, trying to go for the Banelings and the Baneling crush and then the Hydras behind it, which might actually work out fairly okay-ish, depending on how many Archons her opponent will gather up to that point, because even if the Archons get annihilated by the Banelings, if all the Banelings die on almost only Archons, the remaining forces might still be sufficient in order to clear off the Hydras. So you don't really want to crush all your Banelings and all your expensive gas units into just Archons, maybe not even killing them all. So in the meantime we have a few Hydras just standing in the back, wants to be safe against Warp Prism, so if a Warp Prism were to come close, these Hydras would probably take it out before it could even retreat, before Koshkii might even know what's up. Creep spread going on by Miezekotze, nicely done so far. Not so much vision for Koshkii though, although I think she might actually have a watchtower. No, she does not. Okay, there she's engaging the enemy. But that was just the hallucinated Phoenix scouting a little bit. So fourth base should be done by now, and is now getting saturated, 13 Lings at once. And the Lurkerdom for Miezekotze. So never mind, it's not going to be Baneling Hydra, it's going to be Hydra Lurker, mostly I guess. Maybe some Banes. I think she just wanted to have the Banes, or the Baneling Nest and the speed, for safety reasons, just in case she would have needed some... or just in case she needed some assistance against light units, so that she could morph all of those Lings into Banes. So nice little splitting over there, just sending in a few Lings. We'll find the pylon over here, might even find the third base in the making, so that's why Koshkii is already moving most of her army towards the important fourth base. Will not get that pylon over here, but sees that the army is there. Did she see the base though? No, she did not, but might actually assume that a fourth base is being taken. So more and more Hydras hatching. She already has 18 Banelings in the making as well. Will probably just morph a few Hydras into Lurkers. Once the Lurker den is done, which should already be. Yes, there it is. More Storms, more Archons, more upgrades for Koshkii. She will still have to take a really nice engagement if Miezekotze actually finally invests into some lurkers. Don't know if she just forgot about them or if she just wants to try to crush through everything with pure Ling or with pure Bane Hydra. A third base kinda exposed, most of the army just standing on top of that ramp, but hell, this is a lot of immortals and also a lot of firepower in these Archons, plus the Zealots, which can also keep back the units. Nice little run-by attempt there by Miezekotze. Well, actually managed to get in, but the warp in of Koshkii is almost on point, unfortunately letting slip a few of these links through. At least this base is secured by a photon cannon, so at least Miezekotze will not deal that much damage over here. Might actually not even be able to take out the Immortals, so this run-by didn't really buy her, did her as good as she really wanted it to be. Okay, now the Banelings run in. We have some force roots, but they don't really land. Most of the Banelings, though, eventually crush inside the Immortals. It's still a very huge arc of Hydra. Still, Miezekotze has to be careful not to clump up too much. There's the first storm, and Miezekotze has to go on full-out retreat. Not really killing the basics of this army, because almost all of the Immortals are still... Actually, I think all of them survived. And we also still have 5 Archons with a 1 Immorphing in, which is actually amongst them. Okay, so never mind. Probably more Archons coming over here, or she just wants them to gain some energy for later storms. Now we finally have some Lurkers morphing. 6 Lurkers in total, plus 07 now. Okay, plus Lings, plus a few Hydras. Okay, 4 more morphing, but I don't see where. Okay, here they are, never mind. There's only 3 of them, don't know where the 4th one is. Probably a little bit astray. Okay, big push there by Koshkii. Let's see. Does she have an observer with the army? She does, but a little bit away. Okay, most of the lurkers actually bury, but some come in a little bit late to the party and cannot even burrow. Still, the burrowed ones deal that much amount of damage, and it seems as if Miezekotze was actually able to take out the observers. So no observer here, no scouting of all of these units, no detection whatsoever. So Koshkii has to be really careful. There's also no mothership core around, so she won't be able to retreat quickly if need be. Kills off a base over here at least, and now retreats completely. Lurker's just trying to close the distance here, and like I said, this could be really problematic. Ooh! Miezekotze with a move command! No! Oh, unfortunately, the move command here not burrowing them quickly enough, and all of them die before they can give off a shot. And that was really expensive for Miezekotze. I mean, she's still fairly good in the game. She has more workers, she has the better supply, not army-wise though. And if we have a look at the income tab though, it seems as if Koshkii just has a little bit of a better distribution of her drones or workers, but only by a little bit. Miezekotze taking another base down here, has not even tried to ever take this base down, so seems she wants to go for a ninja hedge instead, while Koshkii is also taking a fairly unusual expansion pattern there. So I actually like that Miezekotze is taking a base far, far, far away from the battlefield here. But this is a scary army though, Tasteless. I don't know. We have some DPS, we also have lurkers here. There are now 2 observers inside the mix, and unfortunately Miezekotze does now only have an overseer, but cannot kill the observers in time. All of the forces die, and now Koshkii is standing inside the 3rd base. Miezekotze drops to almost 100 supply, is only producing Hydras and Lings, which will probably not cut it. I think Miezekotze really needs to keep all of her forces back and try to gather them if she ever wants to have a chance, but of course she also wants to save that base. Cannot do it, and Koshkii takes the first map. Odyssey is the second map, chosen by the player spawning to the bottom right in orange. It's Miezekotze. Getting the cat pick by Koshkii. Her opponent spawning to the top left hand corner in purple. Going for an early expand on this map. While the probe, of course, is moving across the map in order to see whether Miezekotze wants to do some early harassment shenaniganery or not, if you really expand that early on. And down here with a wide open entrance towards the natural, you really want to know if your opponent went early pool or not. But there she will see the timing. Okay, but Miezekotze gets down the hatch just in time, but now, of course, Koshkii knows everything. And that this has been a hatch first build, so she should be feeling very comfortable in taking a base down here as quickly as possible. In the meantime, Overlords on their long route towards the enemy base. Up, up and away! Extractor and pool, right behind it for Miezekotze. She wants to be able to produce some queens and get some units up to defend against any kind of harassment. Cybernetics core. Just the waiting game for now, both players having to set up their economy for now. Miezekotze getting the Overlord to not get supply blocked at 19, it seems. And there the spawning pool is done, where you see a queen, and we'll see another queen down here, and of course speed probably, unless of course Miezekotze wants to go into some quick other tech. She has a lot of gas left, she could do something else. There's the second queen incoming. But what about speed? Does not seem as if she wants to get it, so maybe she really wants to go into some sort of quick road build. Never mind. There it is! Oh, actually, I was looking at the wrong tab, so never mind. Okay, just thought that Miezekotze would be up here, but she was down there. And unfortunately, I had a look at the wrong resource tab. So Koshkii's probe checking for a third over to the left-hand side. We'll check for a third over here. Might actually be a little bit surprised to not see a base yet, although it's kind of common if you just want to get at least a few units out to expand at around 330. And I think that's probably what we will see Miezekotze do, I guess. But she usually is not the type of all-in-y player, but she has some all-in builds in her repertoire. So you do not want to underestimate her. Lair incoming, which Koshkii will not see since her probe got taken out in the main base. She herself is only on 2 bases, waiting patiently for Warp Gate to finish. That's not chrono boosted, but it's going into Stargate right behind it. So seems as if this time around she really does want to go into turtle mode, into Golden Armada. Or maybe she just wants to utilize a few oracles here and there. Miezekotze does not have spores in position yet, but she doesn't need to. Around 4 minutes is usually the time when you want to throw down these safety spores if you haven't got any information of what your opponent is up to. Could actually just send in this link and see that the Twilight Council is researching something. You can see this because of the lights that flash up on this Twilight Council, that it's actually researching something. So, early Hydralisk then. So, rather seems as if Miezekotze wants to go for some sort of either early Hydra push or maybe Lurker push. Which is, of course, yeah, Lurker push. Okay, I thought so. So, really wants to go for a quick Lurker push there, which could actually crush Koshkii somehow or somehow not. It depends where her air units will be at that point in time. Of course, Lurkers cannot hit air, so Koshkii might just by accident have done or have chosen the right build order here. So now, of course, Miezekotze flies in, does not see the Stargate back here, only sees the gateways incoming. I might actually even expect the wrong push to come. Her Lurkerden is halfway done. Man, Lurkerdens take so much time. But of course, Miezekotze will also have a lot of Hydras there. So did the Oracle actually see the Lurkerden? It did. Okay, so if Koshkii was paying attention, she should know what's up. And might even start producing a few more air units. No, actually goes into High Templars, or into Templar Tech, and into Robo right behind it. So we will probably not see that many Stargate units anymore. I'm a little bit worried. I don't really know what this is going to be. I mean, the lurkers will actually morph in a few minutes here. Miezekotze has taken a very late third base because it's not really important for that timing. It's more like the backup plan, just in case you cannot deal enough damage in order to make the opponent GG out, but still enough in order to continue the game with a big advantage on your side. So, spots the third base over to the right-hand side. Now the Hydralisk will probably morph into a few lurkers. No, actually, the Hydralisk back here will do it. But yeah, this is 6 lurkers. That is a lot of firepower. No way Koshkii will be able to stop those with only the Adepts. Does she even have an Observer? She's producing it right now. That is what the Robo Bay was for. Okay, Miezekotze right now cannot really decide on what to attack yet. She still has some of these Hydralisks left, so Koshkii has to be careful not to engage too closely with these Void Rays, but only a few Hydralisks so far, so not that much anti-air with only 3 Hydras. Still, they deal a lot of damage. Okay, Miezekotze will now bury a burrow. Not bury, but maybe bury these units anyways. Void Rays actually managed to kind of take out the... Yeah, and that's of course a good thing now for Koshkii. She will at least be able to take out all of these expensive lurkers, but loses the third base in the meantime, which is of course still a very heavy blow here. Miezekotze can retreat right now. I mean, still, it was only the base. Of course, a base is really important, especially in Legacy of the Void, since your main base and your natural base do not hold as many minerals anymore than they did in Wings of Liberty and HOTS. So you will need a third base fairly early on in the game, or else your opponent might actually overrun you. So nice little maneuvering here. In the meantime, while attacking at the front, she also manages to sneak in a few links, but of course there's a cannon in place as well, so the links will have to do with it first. A lot of them already die before eventually they can attack something else, and the Adepts are already in place. More and more units moving in. Maybe a little bit of a miss rally there by Miezekotze. She loses more and more units. And if we just have a look at the lost resources tab, we see that Miezekotze is fairly far behind already. So more Hydralisks, melee attack, interestingly enough, plus the Muscular Augment Evolvement, another Stargate, and like I said, we're going to see the Golden Armada. First carrier already in production. The Fleet Beacon has been there for a little while. But of course it will be kind of problematic for Koshkii to get a good force up in time. As long as she cannot secure that third base, which Miezekotze desperately wants to deny her. Of course that has cut into her own resource income, so only now is she saturating that third base over here, because her main base and her natural base are fairly dry already. Taking a fourth base behind it, she knows that she's going to need a little bit more income. In the meantime, Koshkii taking a little bit of a risk, trying to double expand right behind this third, taking an immediate fourth because she knows this third will not last for long, so I'd rather go in right now. Don't really know what Miezekotze is waiting for. Maybe some more resources in order to get some more lurkers out. The Hydras themselves will probably not be able to deal with this force, especially since it has Storm, but only like one... Yeah, there's only one High Templar, the rest are only Adepts and mostly Void Rays. So actually, with a little bit of microing, she might actually be able to take out that force. I mean, the Void Rays don't really deal that much damage against Hydras. The overcharge of the Void Rays does not matter at all, since Hydras are light units, and the overcharge only does additional damage to armored units. But of course, now the first carrier has arrived. And that actually may make things a little bit more difficult for her. She has moved a few lurkers in. Where will she go with this? She does not know about the fourth base up here, so she will probably try to take down that third where all the army stands. Or maybe she sneaks by and wants to get a good position right at that natural base, trying to cut off reinforcements and also destroying some of these important tech buildings. For now, she's only gathering more and more forces. Send some links across the map to the left-hand side in order to check for a potential fourth base, which is not there. Should have actually checked the gold base as well, because it's a very well-liked thing to get a ninja base over here. Gets the lings in what's more, but there's another cannon in place, so these lings again will not deal that much damage before the zealots actually arrive. But of course it was only to distract Koshkii by a little bit for the frontal attack here. And let's see how Miezekotze can actually fight these back. Most of the interceptors has already died. Now she fights on the photon overcharges here, moves a few of these lurkers closer, and it seems, oh okay, never mind, there are still a lot of observers around, and they can't be detected by Miezekotze's forces. Still, it seems as if Miezekotze might just have barely enough with all of the Hydra DPS firepower, taking out all of the probes on the ground with the links, while now dishing out tremendous amounts of damage with the lurkers over here. Only the observers can come over to the right hand side, but Koshkii's forces are in shambles. Just desperately getting up some Archons here, but she does not really have the forces in order to take out the... Oh, that might have been actually a little bit lucky unburying them right in front of these Archons. But yeah, once these lurkers bury again, I mean, even if they get taken out, there's still a heavy amount of firepower right behind it. The Hydras will fairly easily take those out, and without the base over to the right-hand side, Koshkii is destined to lose. So GG, and Miezekotze takes the second map. Proxima Station is our third map, spawning to the top right-hand corner in orange. We have our Zerg player Miezekotze, playing for my risk. And to the bottom left, in purple, playing Protoss for Rival G, it's Koshkii. What will she do this time around? We saw her last week with a sneaky proxy robo build close to the debris over at the back pocket expansion, crushing through this and eventually just barely whittling down her opponent. Will she do a cheese like this? Not on this map. We have a gateway in the making. We'll probably take an early base at the back pocket expansion, the safest one to go for Protoss, while Miezekotze takes the frontal base, which is actually, well, which has become quite a usual thing to do right now. Like I stated before, it helps with creep spread towards your opponent, and it also helps you to disguise when you take your third base later on towards your opponent. Will be more difficult for them to actually find out when the third base goes down, and if it does go down or not. Fairly soon cybernetics core for Koshkii behind the base. Let's see what Miezekotze wants to do after the spawning pool. And if she wants to go for an early aggression build, or if she rather wants to go macro, which I actually assume is what she wants to do. Like I said before, it can be fairly difficult to get aggressive on this map. I mean, yes, there are of course ways to fly in lings from even two different sides. A lot of players like to do overlord drops from here into the main base, and sometimes even at the same time in the natural base, so that the Protoss will have to defend at two different locations, and in the meantime the probes just cannot mine on this mineral patch, or on these mineral patches, and also not on these ones, so the income just goes down for like a minute or so to almost zero. And that can be fairly problematic in the long run, and sometimes even outright kill you. Ooh, Koshkii really wants to take that pesky overlord down, and it dies before it can actually see all too much. Now, of course, Miezekotze might be suspicious of something. Stargate incoming once more, so it seems as if Koshkii, in the long run, wants to go for the Golden Armada once more, even though her strategy didn't kind of work out last time around, but maybe she just wants it for an early Oracle to just deal some damage, or at least get some scouting information, maybe even getting some stasis wards later on. A trap that Poison actually loves to do a lot, and quite successfully, we have to say. So metabolic boost almost done. Stargate almost done for Koshkii. 18 links in the making. There is an overlord hanging around. Did she get an evolution chamber? She did. No Dropper Lord in the making though, but it seems as if, as I predicted before, that is what Miezekotze wants to do. A little bit late here on the timing, this Dropper Lord could actually already been done. She's still waiting though for a few more things to happen, just wants to send in a few more links, maybe in order to pressure her opponent a little bit at the front, distracting her once more. But like I said, this overload is not done yet, and it seems as if I was correct that this was just a small little blunder here, a little mistake by Miezekotze. I think she thought that this overlord had already been a dropper lord, so that's why she attacked at the front, wanted to load in these Zerglings into the overlord and then drop them right behind. As long as these units were attacking the front. But now, of course, Koshkii sniffed it out, sees that the Overlord is moving across the map. Now the links move in, but the Overlord is moving away with all of these links. I don't really know what it did. We have the Oracle over here, but there was a Spore Crawler in place. Did the Oracle kill anything? Only 2 workers so far. And the links even break through at the natural base, while now the rest of the links just a little bit late arrive at the party as well. And here we go, the scenario I told you about before. All of the links inside the natural base, and now also some links will stream into the main base. Like I said, unfortunately just a little bit too late. If this had been coordinated a little bit more precise, the damage could have been just doubled or even quadrupled. But yeah, I mean, 9 workers now, plus the 10 workers, plus the 4 workers, I guess it was back here. No, not even that many. So only, we can say, 11 workers killed by Miezekotze so far. Still kind of a lot, but also a lot of investment here. She gave away a lot of links, and producing all of these links, of course, held her back economically. So if we just have a look, it's still 38 workers to 40. So we can safely say that this push only equaled things out. So Miezekotze actually was behind at the point in time when her attack hit. And now she's fairly even, though her opponent is now trying to take 3rd base. She has a 3rd base of her own, but is not saturated it at all so far, is now trying to make up for it with a lot of drones. While Koshkii now has the chance to get her 3rd fairly uncontested, and is going into a fleet beacon right behind it. Yeah, so no way for Miezekotze to attack anytime soon. She just doesn't have the resources. All she wants to do right now is just drone like crazy and get the income up on this base. But she also actually wants to have a 4th base over to the right-hand side, which Koshkii knows about, so she's planting down a stasis ward. So if a probe actually should, or drone should actually move in here in order to get a base done, it will get stunned and the base will be delayed for quite some time. Plus, of course, Koshkii will get information that a drone get captured there, and might actually be able to send out a few forces in order to deny the hatch once more. So yeah, I think that's really the biggest problem of Miezekotze right now. She's already kind of behind income-wise. Well, a little bit ahead, but only a little bit. But not as a Zerg wants it to be. So I think she really wants to take a 4th base fairly soon. Fairly soon. And of course she has to figure out that her opponent is going into an air build, which she actually might have already been tipped out on, because I think she actually saw one Void Ray moving in against all of these links here. And maybe she did even see these 2 Stargates. Let's have a look if she did. Actually saw them. Okay, never mind. Miezekotze knows what's up. Is already going into a lot of Hydralisks here. But of course, in the long run, against all of these carriers, you eventually want to have infestors with Neural Parasite as well. Because once the Golden Armada of carriers gets too big, the Hydras just won't deal enough damage anymore. Ironically enough. And that is when the infestors come in burrowed, throwing out their Neural Parasite and making the opponent's carriers fight for you while taking the others down, as long as they got shot at by the other carriers. But of course, carriers still mighty powerful units that are still kind of good looking. I like carriers, they look pretty good. So, Hydras mostly moving across the map, 12 more in production. Problem is that this is fairly narrow choke, and we also have a stasis ward in place. Might actually be that Miezekotze will set it off with these few links here, checking for a fourth base. Might actually want to get through this debris here in order to deal some damage. Oh, actually wants to get inside the third base from behind. That's fairly odd. That is like debris you never ever see getting destroyed. Okay, there's the big attack on the rocks, killing some innocent rocks on the map. And there we have a big flank actually coming from the north. Let's see if Miezekotze will be able to move in. Yeah, just morphing in a few banes in order to take out whatever ground forces there may be. Miezekotze has to be careful. Koshkii can always lure her into the stasis ward over here, nullifying like half of her army if she's unlucky. Okay, now trying to take a fourth base down here. Miezekotze has just only taken a normal fourth. Not even at the gold base, so I don't know. I mean, the longer this game goes, the more problematic for Miezekotze this should become. She has the bigger army supply, but her army is just of lesser value. Nicely done there. Knows that a stasis ward was probably up, sending in just only one link. And now she might just come in, could actually deal a lot of damage there. It depends on how Koshkii lines up all of her units. Now everything comes in. The banelings are a little bit tucked back behind the Hydras here, so cannot really move up front, killing off all of these units down there. Now the Hydras move in, a little bit of a move command here, now trying to focus firing down one of the carriers. Another one of the carriers does not get the second one or the third one. Third one still in firing range, but might eventually just take out all of these. Okay, at least one of the carrier dies, but Miezekotze loses all of her forces in the attack and is now just dropped below 100 supply for a second there. Only it just barely has gotten her fourth up. Desperately needs to deny this fourth base over here and also eradicate all of this army force. I don't know if she can do it at the same time. More and more ground forces being morphed in by Koshkii after realizing that her opponent was using mostly ground forces. She just wants to fortify everything that's on the ground, keeping the army away from the expensive but also so important damage dealing carriers. And I don't know, Kev. I don't know what Miezekotze can actually do against it. I mean, she's mostly links and a few Hydras mixed in. These Hydras alone will probably not even suffice against all of these carriers, even when targeting down. But the problem is that the Hydras will probably never get even close to these carriers in order to take them down. There's so much army on the ground right now. And I think the income tab should also be a lot better for Koshkii, having more harvesters, having more gas, having more minerals every minute. It looks still kinda okayish income-wise for Miezekotze, but of course you never want to be behind on bases as a Zerg player. Immediately sees the immense firepower of the Protoss forces. A little bit of mismicro though there here by Koshkii, losing at least one of the important units, might even actually end up losing a lot of these ground forces plus Voidres. But now finally Koshkii is gathering everything together. In the meantime we have the links raiding the natural base, the back pocket expansion of Koshkii, but it doesn't even matter. Koshkii is just on the move and there are so many forces out here. I don't think Miezekotze can take her. More links running inside the natural base or the third base as well. There is a cannon in place, but Koshkii does not even care. She knows that the only thing she needs to do right now is kill off all of the remaining forces and move into the natural base. GG! And Koshkii takes the game, the third game, for a 2-1 lead. And here we are on Sequencer, what I think is the largest map right now in the little map pool. Immensely large. And you can already see so many bases everywhere. This base actually is proxy heaven, we could even say, because you just cannot scout everything. And the watchtowers are fairly out of position, so you can have some vision over the edges of the map, but what's happening inside the middle and on every of these plateaus is it's just impossible to scout it all. So if you ever wanted to do a proxy build on a map, then I think this is the right one for you. Miezekotze getting to plant down her hatch first, even though Koshkii sent out a very early probe in order to get some info. Of course, wants to wall off the natural entrance, which is fairly easy because there's also this debris over to the right-hand side, which helps sealing this off. You can also go for a complete full wall off and then later on kill this debris if you want to move out. So we will see an early expand by Koshkii fairly soon. And there we have them, 400 minerals lining up, and boom! There it goes down. Spawning pool and gas behind it. Usual standard opening for Miezekotze. Let's see if Koshkii wants to go for another one of her infamous timing pushes, or if she wants to go into the Golden Armada once more. It didn't work out the first time she tried it. Worked out the second time. But does she want to do it again? I've actually faced a lot of Protoss players going for a lot of Stargates early on, while just sealing off everything with cannons. And then just going into a lot of Void Rays, maybe it was? Or was it Phoenixes? Or I just forgot. They actually built, like, also a lot of... And also they tried to get some Ninja expansions, right? So the players would just get a lot of Stargates, a Ninja expansion somewhere around here or here, where it just cannot be seen or scouted fairly easily. Most of the time it's actually going to be here and here if people take Ninja expansions, because you never expect them to take these bases whatsoever. I mean, even you will usually never expand to this base over here. I mean, you have this one. If you want to have a normal one, you can take this one. If you are satisfied with one that has less minerals and and only one geyser, but is a little bit more easily to hold, then you take this one over here. But yeah, after that one, you might want to go either here or maybe over here if it's too far away. And this is also a base that almost never gets taken. So yeah, this base is pretty far off. So if you actually want to take a... if you ever want to take proxy build, a proxy base, it's easily done on this base. So we get Dark Shrine for Koshkii and a Roach Warren plus a Lair for Miezekotze. So we might actually see some Roach Ravager push. First Roach Warren so far, I think, for Miezekotze, and the Dark Shrine in the making for Koshkii. So we might actually see some more Archon drops, because the robotics facility will be done in just a second. We will probably see a Warp Prism out of it straight away. And once the Dark Shrine is done, Koshkii will be able to warp in a few DTs, which she will probably morph into Archons, unless, of course, she expects her opponent to not be ready for DT power. So far she's not, but that's quite normal. Like I said, it's usually around the 4-minute mark, maybe a little bit later, 4 minute, 4.5, where you want to have, where you want to start with your spores. If you really want to be safe against proxy builds, against the fastest Oracle possible, then of course you want to have an earlier Spore Crawler. But this time around, Miezekotze going for a Nihilus Network. Sneaky, sneaky. She already has one Overlord in position, but flies it in straight. We'll probably just use this Overlord in order to plant down the Nihilus Worm. Either over here, probably not inside the main base. I really think it is a little bit of a pity that Miezekotze gave away that Overlord over here. She could have probably easily gotten a Nihilus Worm into the main base, totally undetected by her opponent. There are the safety spores. But yeah, I mean, this build might still kind of work. But like I said, it's such a pity. If Miezekotze had not given away that Overlord over here, the Nihilus Worm could have just built completely unseen right inside that main base. That would have been such a hard hit. But of course, the problem is that the DTs could actually be the saving grace of Koshkii here, since Miezekotze will probably not have any sort of detection over at the right hand, over in her opponent's base. And of course, her own Archon drop is about to hit. Does Miezekotze know about this? No, just barely not. A little bit unfortunate. There's the Warp Prism incoming. Miezekotze has put all of her units into the Nihilus Network, Ravagers, and something else. So there is the Nihilus Network going down. It is within sight, but does Koshkii notice? She's heavily microing her Archons over here. The Ravagers are already ready. Miezekotze unfortunately had to put some units back outside of the Nidus Worm, but here they come, mass Queens incoming, taking out everything. It doesn't even matter that her opponent has this... No, it doesn't have a Stargate, never mind. Okay, now moving in is the Immortal, but of course we have a lot of Transfuses probably available. Actually not that many. The Queens are fairly low on energy, but like I said, biggest problem right now is that there is no Overseer whatsoever, so the Dark Templars just wrecking havoc. Koshkii can just easily take out the Nidus Worm, and the damage that Miezekotze wanted to deal did not really get dealt. Yeah, very, very unfortunate here. That is, of course, the problem if your opponent goes DTs and you don't have an Overseer with your army, but only a normal Overlord. This might just kill you. Could have actually worked out a lot better if Miezekotze had just bothered to morph this Overseer into an this Overlord into an Overseer beforehand. But of course, it's easy to say if you have all the information as a caster. But yeah, maybe just as a hint for you players out there, if you want to copy Miezekotze's plan here, which actually could have worked out fairly well. Think about getting an Overseer with which you spawn your Nidus network. Because then DTs won't really bother you, and you will probably be able to deal way much more damage than Miezekotze did, and might even end the game back here. Okay, now the army is moving in. We have an Overseer in position, so the DTs will not do tremendous amounts of damage, but now we have 4 heavy damage dealers. Good move there by Miezekotze. Getting the Warp Prism with the Ravager Biles was exceptionally important here. I cannot even stress how important it was to get that Warp Prism. If this warp-in of a lot of Adepts, I think it was, had finished, Miezekotze would have been finished, but so she holds as it stands for now. Koshkii retreats for now, but is waiting for another Warp Prism to arrive. We know that if she once commits to a 2-base all-in, she's not that easily be stopped. She's not that easily stopped, so you always have to stay on your guard once she pushed you for the first time, because she will probably come back and maybe even stronger. Koshkii is known for, well, potentially failed 2-base all-ins. Oh, 2-base all-ins where you just think, okay, she's dead now. There's no way she can win from here on out. But then she just goes for another push with the same strategy and might not even kill the opponent again. But then she comes back for a 3rd time and eventually whittles down the opponent. So never underestimate a Koshkii push. It could cost you your life. And Miezekotze might just be doing the same thing. Wants to move out with all of her forces. I mean, they can totally understand that she wants to do it. She's invested a lot of resources into early aggression, but now, of course, that is the anti-timing. As she moves out, her opponent army moves in, and Miezekotze has to make the hard decision. Do I want to commit to a base race, or do I want to move back? But will she be there in time? I mean, her army is really, really far away. Warp Prism is in place. More units get warped in. If these units just target fire the hatchery, it just falls in a matter of seconds. There finally the rest of the army arrives, but it's mostly Ravagers, no beef in front. And Ravagers are fairly squishy once army units get close to them. Of course, the Biles can deal a lot of damage, but if your opponent is microing correctly, you should never actually be able to hit anything with the Biles. And without beef, the Ravagers just die in an instant. No problem whatsoever for Koshkii. And like I said it before, Koshkii, the stubborn one, just crushing through her opponent. GG, well played, and Koshkii takes the series with a 3-1.